In this video, we're going to talk about how to punch turn or tight turn like Barzal, just like this. And so we're going through a 6-part program to help you tight turn like Barzal. And we can call them weeks, but you might be able to do it quicker. The main thing is that we're going to start with the fundamentals, and we're going to add fundamentals step by step, week by week, so that there's never too big of a jump between what you start with in terms of your skill and where we end up with, which is the full mechanic stack that Barzal has. So we'll take one more look at Barzal on his tight turn, and we call it a punch turn. And you can call it all sorts of different things, but what makes it a little different than your typical tight turn is this right here, this punching step and this foot, where what you do is you turn your foot perpendicular to its motion or its movement, and it sprays snow for a little bit. So you can see here, Barzal picks his foot up, punches that foot, and then proceeds to turn tightly. Now, what makes this different is that if I don't punch, what happens is both edges dig in, and you have a larger arc. When you punch this foot, it slows you down, it scrubs speed, but what it does do instead is allows you to turn more tightly. It also allows you to use this foot to really step off and exit on a cross and really drop that defender, which you can see Barzal do well here. So the two fundamental mechanics that we're going to start with are the punch step and the wide corkscrew. So all you're doing is you're lifting your foot up. You can see as I lift my foot here, I'm punching and I'm sliding the foot perpendicular to the way the blade is oriented, and it sprays snow here. The most important cue to layer the punch step into the punch turn is to make sure that you're practicing your punch steps, one, with your knee over your toe. So instead of having your knee back here and having no shin angle, your knee ends up being over your toe. And two, you want to practice testing having the weight pressure on your heel, on your toe, on your mid blade. Not because right now I'm going to tell you where to put that, but because I want you to feel comfortable with what happens when you put the pressure and the blade contact at different parts of the blade, heel, mid blade, and toe. So you're going to make sure that when you're doing the punch step, in order to have this flow into the rest of the weeks here, you need to make sure that you are nailing that out edge slide with a shin angle and testing weight at different parts of the blade. The second drill that you're going to do is the double wide corkscrew. And so what's really important here is 3 things. One is that you have actually a double wide stance. So if we say that this is, say, shoulder width, and I'll back it up a bit so I'm more straight on. So right around here, you can see here is roughly shoulder width. This is, you might call this shoulder width and a half. So if my feet were here, you'd say that that's shoulder width and a half. What we're looking for is double shoulder width. So we want our feet double shoulder width. That's the first cue. The second cue is the Crosby Crevice. And what that means is that your top hand is in tight to your hip. And why this is important is because in week 3, we're going to talk about hand positioning. So if you're practicing the corkscrew with your hand positioned in the Crosby Crevice, which if I turn sideways, imagine this is my torso, imagine this is my upper leg, imagine this is my lower leg, and this is a side view. What you'll notice is that right here is where my hand is. And that allows the mass to be central, which makes it easier for you to balance. If the hand was too low or too high, you'd see that if it was too low or too high, it would be further away from your center of mass, which is right here. So having your hand here, allows you to have a more central form of mass. We call this the Crosby Crevice because Crosby is very good at this, for one. And two, it also allows the hand to travel across to the other hip. If the hand is hanging down here, it's going to bump into your leg as you try to get it across to the other hip. People don't usually have it too high, but too low and way out here is a problem. We need to have that in order to make week 3 work. So that's the other cue you're going to want to practice. And lastly, you really want to have your weight to your heels. So let's just kind of go over what the coaching is for this week, which is the 2 fundamentals we're looking at is the outside edge slide and the double wide corkscrew. On the outside edge slide, your 2 cues are shin angle and testing weight on the heel and on the toe and on the mid blade and see how that is. And then you want to do the double wide corkscrew, paying attention to weight to your heels, Crosby Crevice, and the double width. You can practice that on ice, but you can also practice that off ice. The corkscrew, the outside edge slide, is something that is unique to ice and to hockey. That's not something you can practice on Mars blades or roller blades. That is something that you'd have to do on the ice. So make sure that you're using your ice time, efficiently. The double wide corkscrew is something that you can practice off ice. So your two green lights are shin angle on the outside edge slide and double width on the corkscrew. You want to aim for 100 reps of each of these at each of your days. And so if you're able to practice, 3 days in the next week, each of those days, you want to get at least 100 reps.